Okay, the cameras are rolling. Here we go. So, hey, you guys, for those of you all who do not know me or do not know my name is Whitney. I'm originally from Miami, Florida, born and raised in the county of Dade, 305 Big Purr. Okay, I digress. Um, Before I say anything else, I just want to go into prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, I come to you the only way I know how, lifting your name up in prayer. God, you led me here to this exact moment, and I believe that my obedience is going to produce good fruit. To share my testimony, to share my experience, to share this journey that I've been taking and walking with you thus far. How you have guided, how you have provided, how you never let me fall. So God, I ask that whoever is meant to land upon this message, whoever is meant to see and receive this message, that it not only penetrates their spirit, but it penetrates their heart to be obedient into the word that you have sent forth in their life, that they can get to know you in a deeper and more personal way. Speak through me, guide my tongue, take away all the nerves, jitters. Have your way, great God that you are. Amen. Okay, so my name is Whitney. I'm from Miami, Florida, and I moved all the way here to Dallas, Texas. Um, and no, I did not have a plan. I did not have that like family, like you know how people move somewhere because they be like, oh, I got family here. No, I have like one cousin here, two cousins here on my dad's side of the family. But God told me to move to Texas. So let's go back, because one thing that I kept hearing in the spirit is be transparent. So I'm not gonna lie to you. I was gonna try to, beat my face and put on some lashes and do my eyebrows, baby. But God said, go with what you got. Give it to him how you look. Okay, so this is how we looking right now because it is snowing here in Dallas. So let's go back for a little bit. I've been a correction officer for the past 8.5 years in Miami-Dade County. I worked for Miami-Dade County Corrections, and I've been there since I want to say like 20. I was working for corrections, so I was about 20 years old. So, I had a really good career. I was making really good money, and that was something that I was used to doing. I was used to being a CO. And I remember, going through a traumatic experience in my life, and that drew me closer to God. So it made me more curious about who God specifically was, and what he was trying to produce out of me by allowing me to go through certain things in my life. So, I started seeking him. I started, reading my Bible more. I started listening just for his sound, listening for just any type of confirmation, listening for any type of just trying to get closer to him, to be honest, in any way I could, because I didn't really know how to build a personal relationship with him. Like, I know God, I know who he is in the lives of the people that I love and what he means to the people that I love, the elders in my family. And I know God is good, and I know I go to church on Sundays and all that good stuff, but I never really built a personal relationship with him where I can be like, yeah, God did this, yeah, God is this, yeah, God is that. I didn't have that experience with him. So I started seeking him and seeking him and seeking him. Like I said, like when I went through something that was traumatic that brought me closer to him. So I remember God telling me to leave my job. Not only my job, my career, where I was making very good money. The career that, helped me to be able to buy a house. The career that helped me be able to live a certain lifestyle and buy certain things. And the career that allowed me to save a certain amount of money. And He told me to leave it. The career that I was gonna be up for a promotion had I stayed. So when God told me to leave my career, I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't it sounds very like very disrespecting saying I told God no. But I didn't verbally say no to God, but my actions basically said no because I continued to work. I continued to go to work and make my money. I continued to do that of which I wanted to do, irregardless of finally hearing God's voice. And when I heard God's voice tell me, leave your job. That's all I heard. Leave your job. You leave your job. Like let go. And I'm like, yeah, I'm tripping. You know what I'm saying? I got to be tripping. Like, I'm not leaving. So I didn't. And that voice started to become louder and louder and louder and louder and louder. Leave your job. Leave your job. And it was a feeling that I just couldn't shake. I started getting up in the morning, and every morning I would get up. I just felt like my body was like, no, just rejecting me. Getting up and getting ready. Um, Everything just led to me not going, but I still went. And so one day, I remember waking up early in the morning, and I remember God telling me again, leave your job. And I didn't. I went to work, and now I've been a CEO, like I said, for a minute now, right? And I'm not saying everything has been perfect. Like, I definitely went through some stuff. You're going to go through some stuff, especially working in Dade County. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that I haven't been through stuff, but I've never been through nothing where, I had to go to IA, or I had internal affairs, coming to see what happened or what took place. So I remember going to work one day, and like I said, when I woke up that morning, God told me to leave my job, not to go. I disobeyed and I went to work. That morning, I literally did nothing wrong. Like, literally, I did nothing wrong. I got caught up in some stuff that I don't think was fair, that I don't even see how I even got in it. You know what I'm saying? And before you knew it, I had an IA investigation out on me. So, yeah, and I knew it was because I shouldn't have went. I knew it was because I shouldn't have went. Like, I couldn't shake that. I knew it was because I shouldn't have went. So fast forward, everything ended up smoothing over, getting out of the investigation, and God still kept telling me, do not go to work. Do not go to work. Me being me, I still was going to work. I tell you, no BS. That day, God kept telling me not going to work. I still went to work. When I got off of work, I got in a major accident with my son. Right after I picked him up with my son, and I broke two of my ribs. Um, and that in itself like really shook me up because I have like a thing with accidents. I've been in some major accidents in my life. The reason why I got this cut on my lip, I've been in some major accidents in my life. So the accident really shook me up because all I remember in that accident is literally like cars rushing in my direction, and I just remember like bright lights like aiming towards me, and not being able to like move to the left or move to the right. And I just remember my car spinning, and I remember like slamming into, it's like a light pole. I remember slamming into that, and I had my son in the car. Thank God. I think at that time he was probably like 3 years old. So I had him in the car, and I remember being in excruciating pain. I remember saying like I just hope I'm okay. You know what I'm saying? I remember saying Kane. My son name is Kane. I remember saying Kane. And all I heard was, yes, mommy. And I said, you okay? And he said, yes. Like, that's all I remember. And I feel like I just passed out because the next thing I remember is waking up in the hospital. Um, so, yeah, I was out of work for a very long time. While I was out of work, once again, experiences lead you and bring you closer to God. So that experience led me to be like, God, what's up? Like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, Didn't you give me this job, this career where I'm making all this money? Like, how am I going to be able to fend for myself? How am I going to be able to build myself up? How am I going to be able to just sustain in this thing called life? Like, Miami is freaking doggone expensive. Like, the prices are getting higher and higher. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't make no money. I don't have no backup plan. At the time, I don't even think I was like doing social media content and doing all that stuff. I didn't have like nothing, you know what I'm saying? And not only that, but I'm like, God, you telling me to leave this job? I haven't even been saving. I haven't been saving. I've been blowing a check, like blowing a bag, you know, every time I get paid. So I'm like, God, I haven't even been saving. So me just having that conversation with him and him saying like, do you trust me? And me saying like, yeah, God, I trust you, but you know, like, that don't mean I gotta leave my job. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, let's just be real. You know what I'm saying? Yes, I trust you, you know, to be God, but what I gotta do with me and my job? And I remember, I remember just, you know, getting that feeling like, leave. I'm gonna tell you one last time to leave, and if you don't leave, it's gonna get worse than this. And that was a real wake up call for me. But I'm not gonna lie to you, just like a human being here, I go being stubborn, and guess what I do? I take my behind right back to work. I go back to work, and literally my first day back, I haven't been back. I was out of work, I think, for probably like 3 months or some so like that, maybe more or less, from 3 to 6 months, something like that. So my first day back to work, walking in Miami-Dade PTDC jail, I got in a situation. I got in a situation. Right back, IA investigation. Right back. Right back, IA investigation. And I heard loud and clear, leave. Okay? So, I remember saying, like, at this point, I feel like I'm gambling my life. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm gambling my life, and I am kind of scared of what may happen. You know what I'm saying? So, I left. I put in my resignation letter, and I left. Now let me give you a little bit of content. I didn't just leave like that. I had an IA investigation, and I remember praying to God and being like, God, you keep doing this. Like, what are you trying to do? Like, is this even you, or am I just tired of being here? You know what I'm saying? So I remember praying and being like, God, if you want me to leave, slap it in my face. Like, let somebody slam me on the desk and say, you got to go. You got to go. So I remember I was like, and until that happened, we gonna ride this IA investigation out. And so, yes, I know it sounds so stubborn and so just immature and disrespectful now, but I'm just telling you the honest truth of where I was. Um, so yeah, I remember my lieutenant calling me in the office, and I didn't really know what it was pertaining to, because once again, I didn't really do nothing wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, I felt like it wasn't my fault. It was not my fault. Like, I shouldn't even be here for real. Like, run back the cameras. I didn't do nothing type stuff. But I remember her slamming the stack of papers on the desk, and the stack of papers was basically my leave papers, my job dissolval. Like, it was done, you know what I'm saying? And I was supposed to sign, and depending on how the investigation turned out, I was basically signing and say I agree with whatever, the consequences of the investigation was. You know what I'm saying? That means like I could have got fired. Um or I don't agree, and I would get an attorney, and I would fight for it. So when I seen that word that said dismissal on those papers, and my mind just went straight back to what I just told God. Like, I literally was just praying to God, like, God, if you want me to leave, you're gonna have to slap it in my face. You're gonna have to slam it on the table to leave. Like, I gotta see it. And that's exactly what God did. God ain't waste no time. Oh, that's what you want? Cool. Got you. Now what? You know what I'm saying? It was that type of energy. So I'm just like, you know what? I looked at that lady, and I said, do you believe in God? And she looked at me. I never forget. She looked at me. I can't remember her name, but if she see this, she know who she is, Lieutenant. And she said yes. And I said, I gotta take this leap of faith. And God is telling me to leave. I got to leave. I'm not signing those papers. I'm not doing none of that. Like, this is my last day, effective immediately. And it was another lieutenant in there at the time, to serve as a witness and whatnot. And I remember both of them telling me, like, no, like, hey, you could probably beat this. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't make no hasty decisions now. Like, wait a minute. And I remember saying, like, no, like, I gotta go. I gotta go. This is my time. I got to go. And I remember tears rolling down my face. And I remember just walking out, turning in my radio, just walking out the building. Walking out the building, I went to my car and I boohoo cried. I boohoo cried. And I looked back at the building and I walked straight out and got in my car, boohoo cried, and I just drove off. I drove off and I said, God, I will never return to this place again. So, let's fast forward. I'm out of a job. I was out of a job for about a year. When I tell you I was applying to every job that literally like had a we're hiring sign, or every job that was on Indeed, every job that was on the government website, I was applying to everything. No jobs would hit me back. Baby, I could barely even get a doggone interview. You hear me? So but let me just say this: during this year time that I was not working, me and God got gang. Like, me and God got gang. You hear me? Like, me and God became like inseparable. Every day I was waking up early. I was turning on worship music. I would start my day in worship. I would pray. I would meditate. During that time, he drew me so close to him. So close to him. But yeah, I would pray. I would meditate. I would read my Bible. I would make sure I was in Bible study. I would make sure, Sundays I'm listening to church. You know what I'm saying? I was just very connected. I was very heavily connected. And I felt like, whatever I would ask God, he would do. You know what I'm saying? And you know how some people be like, it's certain people prayers that actually reach heaven, that reach the ears of God. Yeah, I felt like, okay, I'm somebody now. I got a little bit of power, you know what I'm saying? Because I've taken this time to build a relationship with God, an authentic relationship, not a religious relationship, not a church bound relationship, not a relationship that my mama and daddy had or I've seen other people have, but an authentic relationship with God where nothing was hidden. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have to hide nothing. I didn't have to be who I wasn't. I didn't have to, look at God this way, but have all my sins and, everything I'm doing that I don't want him to see behind my back. Like, nah, like, it was like, God, I'm feeling depressed today. God, I'm angry and I'm about to cuss. God, I'm feeling like snapping. God, I'm da da da. Like, I built a relationship with God. So fast forward, right? God started telling me to move. He's like, move, move, move. Now, mind you, this is a year after I done left my job, my career. So, God, you telling me to move. And I'm like, move where? You know what I'm saying? Like, where am I? You telling me to move. Where am I going to move? And at this time, a little backstory, which I will give a testimony on that later. But at that time, I just got out of my divorce. I just lost my house. You know what I'm saying? I just moved back in with my parents. So, and then God, now you're telling me to leave my career. So now you're telling me to move. It's not making sense. The math ain't mathing. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's not making sense. So I'm praying and I'm fasting because I need revelation. Like, you gotta make sense of this. And he kept saying, move, move, move. And I'm like, okay, God, let's just say I do move. Right. Where I'm gonna move to? Where am I gonna move? I don't even like where am I gonna move? And that's just it's just like us as Christians, as God's children, to always like ask for a sign or ask God to speak a word or ask for a revelation, and then when we get it, to dig so far deep. And they say the devil in the details, honey. So that's what somebody stop asking so many questions and just do what you heard God said do. Anyway, catch it, don't miss it, clock that T. Anyway, so yeah, God kept telling me to move. So I'm like, oh, where am I supposed to move to? So, he's like, pay attention to the signs. Pay attention to the signs. So I'm like, okay. So my eyes are open. And I was paying so much attention to the signs with every commercial. You know what I'm saying? My mama was watching Wheel of Fortune, and the people want a trip, I think, like to, yeah, let's say Mexico or something. I'm like, well, God, is it Mexico? Am I supposed to go to Mexico, God? Like, this is what you're telling me? You know what I'm saying? I was just like really paying attention to everything. But one thing I would say that I noticed is I kept feeling Texas in my spirit. Like, move to Texas. You're going to Texas. You're going to Texas. You're going to Texas. You're going to Texas. And I'm like, I never been to Texas. I never been to Texas. You know what I'm saying? God said He'll telling me like you're going to Texas. And I'm like, I never been to Texas. You know what I'm saying? How I'm gonna get to Texas? So I remember looking up Texas, and Texas was literally like 19, 20 hours away. So I'm like, the heck? Like, and mind you, I have a 6-year old. So I'm like, how this gonna work? You know what I'm saying? Um, and I remember like driving in the car, and everywhere I would drive, every time I look up, it was a Texas tag. Now, baby, in Florida, everybody got Florida tags, of course, and you might see, some out of state tags every now and then, but I have never seen so many Texas tags in my life. So I'm like, I keep seeing these Texas tags. Like, what part of Texas are you trying to get me to move to, God? But I kept just getting Texas. Just kept getting Texas. And sure enough, I went on a fast. And during my fast, I just kept writing down Texas. God kept leading me to Texas. I think that year it was like a couple of songs. I want to say maybe some of Beyonce's too, but I know everything was just leading to Texas. Like, Texas was just popping. Like, it was so much around Texas. And I'm like, I never even stepped foot to Texas. You know how people go on little, vacations, and they might say like, "Oh, I want to go to Houston," or "I want to go da da da." Like, I've never even been to Texas like on a vacation. And of course, the most popular, part of Texas that you hear is Houston. So I'm like, I'm guessing Houston, Texas. That's just that was just my thought. Like, I'm guessing, Houston, Texas. So I remember saying, "Okay, God, you told me to move to Texas. Got you, got it. I hear you. Bam. You know, I'll move to Texas as soon as you provide the money." You know what I'm saying? Like, how am I supposed to move to Texas? Mind you, I have nothing saved, baby. I don't have a dime in my name. I'm staying with my parents. Thank God. Thank God, who God blessed me with to be such good parents. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't really have to worry as much about, little things that other people may have to worry about. I didn't really have to worry about it, but I knew I ain't have good enough parents to move me all the way to Texas and, then pay my way and, you know what I'm saying? Like, put me up. Like, we ain't rich now. So I kept saying, like, God, okay, like, provide the money. Cause, and at this point, it was almost like testing God. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, now I would never, but this is just who I was, and I just want to be transparent about it because I believe God. You know what I'm saying? But it's a part of me because I'm so very stern and hard headed. I used to be. I used to be. God has humbled me real quick. You know what I'm saying? But I used to be like so very stern and hard headed to the point where it's kind of like, well, God, you're gonna have to show me. Like, if you want me to move, provide the money. Until you provide the money, I'll be right here in Miami. You know what I'm saying? I'll be right here in Miramar, like, because I don't have no money to move, how many states away to a place that I have never been once again. So I just kept saying that, like, provide the money and I'll go. And it was almost like a joke. Like, it was almost like in the back of my, like, I know God, can do all things. I know they say that He can do the impossible, but I just never really seen it happen for me and in my life. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm like, you know, if this money come, this supernatural money come, I'll move. And I gave God my word on that. Like, God, I'm for real. You provide the money, I will move. So probably a couple of months later, um, I started getting that feeling again, like it's time to move. And every which way I turned, like whether it was TikTok, whether it was Instagram, whether it was YouTube, I was seeing somebody saying like, "Oh, I'm moving," or "Oh, my testimonial moving." You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, I was kind of like ignoring it, because you know how like when you know something, but you don't feel like at this point you so tired of seeing it and hearing it to the point where it's just like, all right, I done heard enough. Like, you know what I'm saying? You just keep scrolling. So that's what it was for me. So I remember my dad, knocking on my door and him saying like, "You got mail." And I'm like, okay, So I'm looking through all of my mail, and I remember seeing this company, some company, and it was like, it was a retirement company. It was saying they were going out of business. And so I opened a letter, and it's like, "You have a plan with us, and we want to know what you want to do with your money." So I'm like, "A plan with y'all?" Now, mind you, let me be clear. This was not a part of like my 401k or like money that I had with my job. This was not a part of Dade County benefits or nothing like that. So I really honestly did not know, like, who these people were, or what they was talking about. You know what I'm saying? So at this point, I'm like, they didn't give me much information. They just gave me like my account number and my all of that stuff like that. So I remember calling the company, and I remember like, "Yeah, my name is Whitney, da da da. I just got a letter saying like, what do I want to do with my money? Come on, money, receiving money. What do I want to do with my money? Um, I didn't know I had money with you all. Can you please tell me? Can you give me access to my account and whatever the case may be?" So she's like, "Yeah." She said, "You can go online and you could pull up everything, and you can see, what you have and how it is accumulated interest and all that stuff like that." So I'm like, okay. So she give me all my information. I tell you, no BS. I go online, and when I go online and I go on this website and I'm looking, it's over $6,000 in this account. It's over $6,000 in the it's over six thousand it's over $6,000 in this account. And I'm like, where where did this account come from? Like, you sure this my money? And she's like, "Yeah, what's your social?" And I'm giving her my social. She's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, that's yours. That's your information. What would you like to do with it? Would you like to pull it out? Would you like to?" And I'm like, "Heck yeah, I want to pull it out." Yeah, yeah, I want to pull it out. Let's pull that bad boy out. Yes, I want to pull it out. So yeah, like, she was like, "Okay, it's gonna take a couple of weeks, to get to you. This is tax free." And when I hung up the phone with her and all of that, I just remember dropping to my knees and telling God, "Thank you." I remember being like, "God, I don't know what you're up to. I don't know how you did it. But God, I want to say thank you." And I remember him saying, "Move. Use that money and move." So, um, I said, okay, you know. I waited a couple of weeks. The money became available. And I said, "Okay, God, now if I'm gonna move, I can't just pick up and pack up everything and just, you know what I'm saying, go to Texas." And I ain't never been there, because I don't even know where I'm gonna move to. I don't know no apartments. I don't know nothing up there. So I'm gonna take myself, on a little road trip. You know what I'm saying? So I went on a road trip, and I drove all the way to Texas. I came here to Texas, and the first place we came to was Houston. And so in Houston, we seen a couple of apartments, but honestly, the vibe of Houston just reminded me of Miami, and I'm like, I don't want to come this far to say to get away, just to get away to the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, Houston ain't for me. And I remember somebody at the gas station. It was something like that. Somebody was talking about Dallas. Somebody was talking about Dallas, and I remember being like, Dallas. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, Dallas. Okay, Dallas. Let me see. So they was like, "Yeah, Dallas only 3 hours away." So I'm like, "Shoot, we gonna drive to Dallas." So we drove to Dallas. We made it to Dallas. Dallas felt good. It did. It felt good. And I just started booking like different what it's called, showings. tours to tour different apartments. You know what I'm saying? I didn't really know any neighborhoods that was quote unquote good or nothing like that. Like I just viewed different apartments. And I remember viewing a whole bunch of different apartments, and you know, some I liked, some I didn't. Some was way too expensive. Some the energy, the vibe was just like, I'm not living here, I'm not staying here. So I'm like, God, at this point, put me where you want me. Like wherever you want me to be, put me there. So, my last day here, in Dallas, Texas, I was gonna drive back home because you know I had to tend to my child and all that stuff like that. My last day here, upon getting on the expressway, it was a certain apartment that happened to catch our eye, and so we went to this apartment. And when we went, the girl there, name was Jordan. I can't not put her in this video, not say her name. Her name was Jordan. And you know how some people you just come in contact with and you just know like this is a God connection. Like this is all right, God. Like it was one of them. It was one of them. And I remember walking in and she was just so nice. She was so nice and she was so helpful. And she was like, we can take a tour really quick. Yeah, da da da. And so while we're on a little cart, she's finna show us the apartment. And while we're on the little cart, she's like, "Can I ask you a question?" I say, "Yeah, girl." And she's like, "Why? What made you move here? Like, what made you consider Dallas? Like, why are you considering moving here?" And I'm not gonna lie, like, I'm one of those people. I don't like people in my business, to be honest with you. So I'll probably tell you a little white lie. You know what I'm saying? Before I tell you my actual truth, my actual business. That's just who I am. Because I just don't trust everybody. Everybody don't have your best intention. You know what I'm saying? So you know. But for whatever reason, like, nah, I just told her the truth. I'm like, God. And she was like, huh? And I say, yeah, God. I say, God told me to move. So I'm moving. And she was like, hmm. And I said, why you did that? Like, why, what, girl? And she's like, no, you're the second person to say that. And I say, shut your mouth. And she like, yeah. She like, literally, I showed this apartment to another female probably like a week or two ago. And she said the same thing. Like, God told her to move to Texas. I say, hmm. So literally, she's like, I'm gonna do everything I can, you know, to make sure that you get this apartment. So I said, okay. So I drove back to Miami. My top apartments that I liked, you know, I put in for them to see if I get approved. I start applying to a whole bunch of jobs in Texas, just like looking up different jobs in the area, you know, buy the apartments. And I just applied. A couple of days later, I got another letter in the mail. Now, mind you, I came up here to Texas. We was up here probably like I want to say a little less than a week, probably like 4 days, 4 or 5 days. And while we was up here, you know, applying to apartments, applying to different jobs, going to different jobs so they could actually see my face, you know what I'm saying, and applying and stuff like that. So, you know, even to the drive up there, you know, paying for gas, paying for food, paying for a hotel stay, you know, obviously some of that money that I had kind of like was trickling down, you know what I'm saying? You know, trickling down. So getting a little watery. So, yeah, I came back home and I started applying to more jobs, and the top like 3, 4, 5 apartments that I really, really liked, I applied to. Just off, I didn't have, now this is just being transparent. You know what I'm saying? Of course, I did not have a job at the time to show proof of income. I did have a LLC. Under your LLC, you are an employer. You can make however much you want to make. That's all I'm going to say on that. That'll be a video for a different time, okay? So that's how I was able to show proof of income. So anyway, yeah, so I remember a couple of days later, you know, came home, da da da. I received a letter in the mail, and this letter was from an account that I did open up with Miami-Dade Corrections, and but it was a IRA account. And mind you, this account was something I opened up. It was this guy who used to sell insurance in Miami-Dade. And I remember I was working on midnight shift, and I remember one night he came in, he was like, man, I've been trying to talk to you, I've been trying to catch you, da da da. You know, I sell insurance. I think it'll be awesome for you to get an IRA. And at the time I'm like, nah, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's enough money coming out of my check. Like, I don't even be going to the doctor like that all the time. Like, no, I don't need it. You know what I'm saying? That was my thoughts. That was my thoughts. Like, I don't need all this extra stuff. I don't need it. Um, but I'm so very happy that he was consistent, and it's like a name that's familiar in my head. I want to say his name because I just feel like people deserve their accolades, but I don't want to get his name wrong. But if you a CEO and you watching this, you know who I'm talking about. Whatchamacallit, brother. Anywho. Yeah, so he kept coming. He kept coming. Like he kept sitting with me in my door probably for a week straight until I freaking signed them papers to get this IRA account, which I'm so very happy he did. I'm happy he was as persistent as he was because that's the account I completely forgot all about. And when that account came, I think I had about 5 stacks at the time in there. And yeah, that letter came and it was like, do you want to pull your money from this? And I'm like, you know what I'm saying? God strikes again. That's how I felt. I felt like God strikes again. You doing it again. Like you did it again. So um I waited until, I was able to get that money out, and I said, okay, God, like I'll move. I'll move. I was very scared. I'm not gonna lie to you because, like I said, I don't know nobody up here. I've never been to Texas. I've never lived in Texas. I don't know the streets. I don't know anything about Texas. I haven't experienced Texas weather. You know what I'm saying? I don't know anything about Texas. So me, born and raised in the county a day, moving all the way to Texas, baby, and then just the stereotypes of Texas. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just not really what I wanted to do and where I wanted to be. However, I know I got a word from God, and because of the things that I have been through in my life, I've come to a point in my life where I realize obedience is better than sacrifice. You hear me? Are you listening? Yeah. So my only job was to be obedient. Um, so yeah, I got a U-Haul truck and packed up everything. I didn't have much, it was just my room. But packed up a few stuff, and I remember going, and getting some grocery and going to Sam's and getting some just like bulk tissue and just like the necessities, getting some of that stuff because Lord knows I didn't know if I was gonna be able to have a job. I didn't know what was gonna happen. So yeah, I got a U-Haul truck, and I tied my car to the back of the U-Haul truck and drove them good old 19 hours, and I came up here to Texas. And did I say the girl said we got approved? But anyway, yeah, I got approved for the apartment, and so we came up here to Texas and moved in, moved in, and from that I started, continued to apply to jobs. A job hit me back. And when this job hit me back, I set up for an interview. The lady was so sweet, so nice. It was a job that I have never done before. You know what I'm saying? Working with basically like finance, like a financial institution. No, it was not a bank. Um, but it was a corporation who handled a lot of different other corporations' finances. So yeah, I landed that job, got that job. um, my son was still down here, until I got a job and got myself together. So this is too, because I know sometimes, you might not have nobody to watch your child and you might have to come up here with your child. That's still not an excuse not to do what God says do. Um, but God will always provide angels in your wilderness, in your situation, in your circumstance, in your environment, to make sure that his word goes forth. And that's exactly what God did. Um, when I was able to, get up on my feet, I was able to bring my son up and enroll him in school and get him going. And I know it was something that was completely different for him as well for me. But yeah, it happened, and we're here. And I've been here in Texas now for what, a year and a half. A year and a half. A year and a half. So to anybody watching this who receive the word from God, who God keeps confirming his word, just telling you to trust him, just telling you to move, to move, to move. Sometimes all God wants from us is an act of obedience. He doesn't want all the hooting and the hollering. He doesn't want all the extraness with the questions and the details and the, well, God, what you going to. If God say move, move. It will be so worth it. Um, you will receive way more when you move than you ever could imagine or you ever could have expected to if you stay where you're at. Sometimes God can't bless you the way that he wants to amongst the people who knew you for the longest, who knew you all your life, amongst the people who they're used to you being this version of yourself. They're used to that you being this way. You know what I'm saying? Upon my relationship with God and this journey with God, I came in one way. I was that Whitney. I was that Whitney. I'm a whole nother person now. I'm a whole nother person. And what happens is that when we are so caught up on, trying to maintain old ties, we maintain a part of ourselves that no longer serves purpose, that is no longer effective, is no longer needed for where God wants to take us and the things that he's trying to do in our lives and the character that he's trying to develop within us. This journey has not been an easy journey. I'm not going to sit up here and be like, oh, yeah, everything was peachy and God did everything supernaturally. Like, yes, he did do a lot of things supernaturally, but it still took my involvement and it took my obedience and it took my faith. It took my trust. Has it been tears? Yes. Has some days been harder than others? Yes. But let me tell you something. I would not trade it for the world. I would not be moving back. I would not be going backwards. And the person that I am, like this video that I'm making, because God keeps saying, tell your story, tell them how I moved you, tell your story. And I've still been like, I tell it when I get here, or I tell it when I get there, or I tell it later. Like I've been procrastinating and I've been putting it off. And God is like, speak. And he sent me confirmations back to back to back for me to tell my story. So if you're listening to this story is meant for you. This story is a part of your story, is a part of you stepping into whatever it is that God has for you. He's requiring of you. He's asking you to step into. God will make a way out of no way. Pray. Pray and pray some more. He got you. He got you. I would have never expected for things to happen the way that they happen. It's been a long, long journey. The time when I wasn't working, I was out of work for almost 2 years. 2020, 21, 22. Yeah, I was out of work for 2.5 years. 2.5 years, but guess what? Through those 2.5 years, God was building me. He was molding me. He was shaping me. He was creating me. He was cutting ties from old people, old crowds I used to hang around, old versions of myself that no longer served my new self purpose. He was getting me somewhere, getting me to an intended destination. And I'm not quite there yet, but I'm well on my way. So, this is just my start of being transparent and putting my journey out there in hopes that you can too walk on this journey fully knowing and trusting that God got you. God got you. If he's telling you to move, move. And watch your life change for the better. I ain't mean to take up too much of your time. I love you so much, okay? When women speak, lives change. People get healed. People get delivered. People feel comforted. People find their place. They find their hope. They find their joy. And for some people, they find their spark. They find their voice. So if I could be a mouthpiece for God, if I could be a vessel for God to get you just to do what He says to do, to get you just to trust Him just a little bit more, to get you just to give Him a little bit more of your time, your effort, your energy, then that's what I'll do. When women speak, I love y'all.